BMW was arguably one of the first car makers to popularise the coupe-style SUV with the X6 back in the noughties. But the unique body style has since proliferated across the German car makers' lineup with models like the X4 and the X2. That latter model is due for a new generation, and we've been invited down here to Hobart to take a look. This new BMW iX2, obviously there's a lot going on with styling, which we will get into, but the main point for this car is the fact that it now comes in electric. So let's get into it and check out the new BMW iX2. While the BMW X2 range is available in 4 variants, 2 electric and 2 petrol, the one that we're focusing on today is the top-spec electric car, the BMW iX2 xDrive 30. The iX2 joins a burgeoning range of BMW electric SUVs, which already includes the similar iX1 and the flagship BMW iX large SUV. The high-specification BMW iX2 we're talking about today is the only electric variant available at launch, and it's priced from $85,700 before on-road costs. Compared to the entry-level petrol X2, it costs nearly $10,000 extra. But against a similar iX1 electric SUV, which has a more conventional SUV wagon body style, it costs $800 extra. It is pricey for a small SUV, but as a premium electric experience, the BMW iX2 stacks up competitively against alternatives like the Mercedes-Benz EQA. It also sits under the luxury car tax threshold for fuel-efficient electric vehicles. The iX2 xDrive 30 is powered by twin electric motors and all-wheel drive. Combined electric power totals 230 kilowatts and 494 newton meters. The iX2 xDrive 30 offers up to 395 kilometers of driving range thanks to a 65 kilowatt-hour battery. It can charge at a rate of up to 130 kilowatts using a DC fast charger, said to deliver a 10 to 80% charge in less than 30 minutes. Let's talk about styling, because I reckon the BMW iX2's design is one of the most interesting of late from the brand. Now, obviously up front you do get a large kidney grille, which is beset by this LED lighting. That is something that we haven't seen in the compact SUV class from BMW before, and I think it looks pretty smart. As well, you do get crease lines on the bonnet, which lead you down to the BMW badge, and it does have a blue ringlet to signify electric intent. And then down the side, you do get these big headlights as well. They are a new design for BMW and not seen on the X1 twin under the skin. Now down the side, you do get a 19 or 20-inch wheel option. This is on 20s, depending on specification and your choice, but for the time being, that is 20-inch wheels there. And down the side, you do get a set of flush door handles. Now, if you'll follow me around to the rear, there's a lot of stylistic flair going on at the rear end as well. Now, the obviously tapering roofline does accentuate this car's sportiness, and it does end in this new spoiler. You also do get a set of new tail lights at the back, but while I'm here, let me show you the boot. So around the back, we do have an electrically opening tailgate, which paves way to a 525-litre space. Now, that is down on the petrol-powered X2, but you do get a unique storage cubby for the charging cables, and there is a decent amount of storage in this space. You do have a little bit of a load lip, which isn't the most easy thing to use, but it's pretty decent. So let's get inside the cabin and take a closer look. Inside the cabin, the space is dominated by a curved display measuring 10.7 inches for the digital cluster and 10.25 inches for the infotainment screen. It looks visually awesome and runs BMW's latest iDrive 9 operating system, which is feature-laden and gets over-the-air updates. Sat in the first row here, I am in a very comfortable driving position, and I've got a lot of support from these seats. Now, the broad shoulder support, I haven't seen that in a BMW before, and I'm finding myself in a really nice driving position with a good view of the road overhead. And you do get good support going through corners from the side bolstering. One thing I do like about the BMW X2 is a floating center console array. Now, you do have a lot of storage underneath, and obviously, even though it is a floating center console, it's not at the expense of storage space either. So you do have twin cup holders, a wireless phone charger. Obviously, there is a center console, but annoyingly, it is quite shallow and it only opens to the passenger side. But otherwise, you do have a glove box as normal and a pair of USB-C ports. I am finding in this interior here, the array of materials used inside the BMW iX2's cabin are really nice. Now, you do have soft touch inserts on the dash up here, metallic accents to the dash, and obviously metallic accents for the door pulls and door handles as well. One thing I am finding slightly annoying in the BMW iX2's interior is this big steering wheel. Now, it's large in both diameter and thickness. It's like those old M steering wheels, but it's almost to a kind of comical level, the level of thickness of the steering wheel, which is a little bit weird in a compact SUV. Now, another thing that I'm finding slightly annoying is the fact that the air conditioning controls, they are buried in the infotainment system. It is kind of just a tap away down here on the center console, but I wish that was just traditional buttons like usual. Now, I do like the fact that with this new iDrive 9 software, you do have little shortcuts down here between the two screens, but overall, I think it's a pretty easy system to use. As well, with the materials, I'm finding that there are bright accents to the interior, and the material on these seats feels like it's built sturdy and to go the distance. It also feels quite nice in your hand as well. BMW's suite of safety systems are also included, featuring lane centering assist, adaptive cruise control with stop and go, blind spot monitoring, a 360-degree camera, parking assistant, and drive recorders as standard. Being 194 centimeters tall, obviously this isn't my favorite position in the BMW iX2. My head is constrained by the sloping rear roofline, and this low seat base has my knees hanging awkwardly high in the balance. There's also not that much space for my knees to sit behind my own driving position, and my feet don't have much room to move either. But I do like the ambience afforded by the large panoramic roof. While it doesn't open, I do like the light it does afford into the second row. Now, in terms of amenities, you do have air vents, twin USB-C ports, map pockets, and a fold-down center armrest which reveals a pair of cup holders. But enough of that, let's go for a drive. Well, behind the wheel of the BMW iX2, this car has an all-wheel drivetrain with 230 kilowatts and 494 newton meters. Those outputs are evenly split between the front and rear motors, and when you put your foot down, this car really does hustle. It really does feel like an electric vehicle driving experience, because as soon as you do press that accelerator, it does result in fast forward movement. And whether it's from a standstill or you are just landing on the accelerator when you are in traffic, the amount of get up and go provided by this BMW X2 is really sharp. The iX2 comes with 4 separate energy recuperating levels, so you do get that adaptive driving mode which will gauge what the car ahead of you is doing and then brake behind it accordingly, and then 3 separate levels of high, medium and low regeneration. Talking efficiency, in this car we have been seeing around high teens in terms of kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that's kind of what you'd expect from an electric small SUV. But considering this is a brand new car and we are driving it around spirited Tasmanian roads, you can expect that number to come down with extended use. One thing I've found a little bit unnerving in the BMW iX2 is a light steering feel, because when you do turn it around bends, especially in its normal driving mode, it does feel light and airy, especially around center. You really do have to put it in the sportier driving modes for this steering system to weight up a bit. And I do find that that thick steering wheel, it is a little bit weird to use in a car like this. And it is really large as well, so you feel like you're turning a bit of a boat, but that's not the experience when you are driving it, because it is a very dynamic car. You turn it around a bend and it tracks true through the bend and not being upset by mid-corner bumps. And when you do go over little undulations, the suspension just absorbs it and it really doesn't let that much imperfections through to the cabin. Something that I always notice when I'm driving an electric car is the fact that you don't have an engine under the bonnet producing engine noise, so it does sort of accentuate those other little imperfections through to the cabin, like wind and road noise. But inside this iX2, there's actually not that much coming through inside the cabin. The wind noise is subdued and there's not that much noise from the tyres as well. We've been driving even on corrugated gravel roads today, and this car is really refined. It really just does feel built well and is nicely refined. With BMW's electric vehicles, they do come with iconic sounds, which are sounds that are played inside the cabin to mimic the sound of a petrol motor. And for me, it's not something that I typically use, but there is that option there and you can switch it on and off as desired. We're just driving sedately around rural Tasmania at the moment, but body control from this, what is a weighty electric vehicle, is really impressive. It doesn't get upset by mid-corner bumps and it doesn't sway through corners much like you'd expect from an electric BMW. It is really nicely refined in that regard. In terms of vision, I'm actually pretty comfortable seeing out of this cabin. The rear window is a little bit letterboxed because you do have that tapered roofline, but the only thing that I'm really experiencing a problem with is the C-pillar. You can't really turn around and see that much behind you over your blind spot, but overall it's actually pretty decent in terms of vision out of the cabin. So with respect to driving experience, this isn't actually that far removed from what you get in a petrol BMW. It's fast, it's comfortable, it's quiet, and it's refined. So let's go and sum up. Well, our first go of the BMW iX2 has proved that this is a really nice car to drive. but I happen to think that the interior is one of the most impressive aspects of the entire experience. Everywhere you look inside the cabin of this thing, it is visually stunning, and it feels built to last the distance as well. But the driving experience of the iX2 is really impressive in its own right. It's composed, it's quiet, and it feels really fast, more than enough for what you need for this small compact SUV. Now, obviously, there are concessions that you will make with this coupe-style SUV over the more practical iX1. But if you do want something stylish, something that is visually impressive, be sure to check out the BMW iX2. As well, you can read the full review of this car on Drive.com.au, and be sure to give us a like on YouTube and subscribe to get all of our future content.